Look at that friendly guy.
This is my buddy. Dude, he's awesome. I love this guy. I raised him from
that's cool.
like the size of my finger.
What kind?
He's the Hobby Hangar's unofficial mascot.
What kind of lizard is he?
He's a Savannah monitor.
That's cool.
Yep. The little African cousin of the Komodo dragon, I always like to tell people.
That's cool. Komodo dragons are sick.
Dude, they are nuts. They are nature's just equivalent of some 40K wildness. Like that. So if you look at their teeth, they're nuts. If you look at their teeth, there's iron on the serrated edge of the teeth that helps them keep keep them sharp. It's nuts.
It's pretty cool.
It's insane. And the way they get that iron, scientists speculate, is from the blood of their kills. These things are capable of killing water buffalo. They hunt and kill water buffalo. So they think the way that they get that iron is through the meat that they eat. So pretty insane.
There was
also,
sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say there was a thing I saw that was like, how much iron would it take of human blood to make a sword out of?
A sword. Yep, I've seen that one before. Wasn't it like 300 people, like 300 average adult humans, something like that? That is nuts. Well, man, we don't usually do just official intros. Like I said, this is just kicking it with the boys. But I mean, I'm Tristan. This is usually just laid back conversation. I guess we'll get started with like, how did you get into cryptids and stuff like that on your channel? I've watched the what are the paralysis?
Yeah, the sleep paralysis demons.
That was the most recent one I've watched. Yeah, dude, those. I've heard so many stories from so many different people.
They're super creepy. Someone in the Warhammer Discord was telling me his story, and it was a lot creepier than the ones that I was talking about. But I've always kind of been into scary stuff. I just really haven't had an avenue or anything to do with it, so I just kind of left it alone. And then I saw Wendigoon's cryptid icebergs, and I had always thought, like, what are each cryptid in each state? I thought that would be really cool to see, and then I couldn't find anything like that was in video format, so I thought, oh, I'll do that. And I also like conspiracies and mysteries and stuff, so I figured I'd talk about that too.
That's pretty cool. No, when you want to do Arizona, I have a few suggestions. I have a few friends up in the Hopi reservation.
That'd be cool.
And some of the stories, some of the stories they've told me, like the Kachina stories alone are. They're probably not like a cryptid creature type thing, but the stories about the Kachina are amazing. Those are cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a note of that.
Yeah, man. If that's something you want to dive down into, I'd be happy to share some notes.
Yeah, for sure. I want to at some point get guests on and stuff, but right now I'm small and I need to revamp my production schedule so I'm more consistent. But once I get there, I definitely want to have more people on.
Yeah, dude, I definitely love what you. I like the route you're going down. I like what you're doing. The content's really entertaining, and I think a lot of us out there, especially those of us that are in the reptile hobby, because we're already into wild stuff. Like you saw Bubba, we're into wild, cool stuff. He has some of the neatest geckos you've ever seen. Like Jason, tell him about your Stropheus. Tell them why those are kind of nuts. Because most geckos, well, I think they're the only gecko that can do what they do.
Well, no, not really. There's another gecko who could do it too.
Really?
Yeah, over in New Cal, they could do it. The what are they called? The Eurodactyloides, the chameleon geckos. They could do that too. But so like Stropheus, they have a defense mechanism where they can shoot like this mild toxin out their tails. It's just like a deterrent for so if a predator comes and tries to get them, they'll just spray it in their face and their eyes and just run off. Like they barely do it in captivity. Like usually when it happens, like it's usually when like one of my babies hatch out. And they're like, yo, cool. who is this person? Like, what is this big ass thing with his massive hand trying to do to me right now? Is it gonna eat me? So then it'll spray, and it smells like a stink bomb. That's all of that. That smells like. You ever drop a stink bomb? I should drop them in plastic. Does it what?
burn it all or anything, or no?
It irritates. Like if you got it in your
Stinks.
eyes, you would know it like it was kind of it'll probably burn a little bit. But they've only sprayed me in my hands, and I'm like stink bombs, you know. But I'm sure if you got it in your mouth or your eyes, you're
Ugh.
gonna have a bad day.
Ugh. That'd be so unpleasant.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I keep tarantulas. I keep New World tarantulas, and they do something also equally as unpleasant. So they have what's called urticating hairs on their abdomens. They'll take their back legs and they'll flick those urticating hairs at you. And when it gets into your hands and in your face and in your eyes, it feels like fiberglass.
Oh,
Not fun. So yeah, like we in the reptile, arachnid community, we like weird stuff like that. And if you were to have someone and not knowing that these geckos exist, describe this creature, this little creature that shoots this like, semi-toxic goo out of its tail, like you'd be like, that sounds like some weird cryptid thing. That's why I like this stuff.
yeah, definitely.
Like that's why I'm interested in this stuff, man. And Komodo dragons were considered a cryptid for a while. You ever hear the story on that? Since we were talking
No,
about komodos
no, I
earlier,
haven't heard that.
it wasn't until a British naturalist went and I think I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on it, but it wasn't until a well-known naturalist actually went out and landed on the island of Flores and like documented these creatures and scientifically described them for the first time and actually brought some specimens back. And they always heard all these stories of these dragons on this island that were giant and would eat people, and they were like, oh no, that's a myth, there's no way. And then this guy went and sailed to the island, sure as shit, there they are, and they do eat people.
That's crazy.
They
There was a
Yep.
there was a thing I saw one time. It was like, which one would you think is a cryptid? A horse with a horn, or a 22-foot tall camel with spots all over it that's primarily yellow? Which one sounds like the cryptid? It's like,
the
yeah, the
giraffe.
giraffe sounds like the cryptid, but that's the real
The
animal. And a
giraffe
horse with a
sounds like
horn
the
is the
cryptid,
real.
but it is sure as shit a real thing, dude. I remember the first time I had someone describe those geckos that Jason has to me. I'm like, there's no way that's real. And then, just not too long ago, I was helping him move, and I'm holding one in my hand. And by that point, because he and I had been friends for a while, I knew they were real. But actually, holding one in your hand and seeing one, you're like, this is nuts. He has another one, that leaf tail gecko you have.
Oh,
That
the
thing,
Platus.
that thing doesn't look like it should. Yeah, that thing doesn't look like it should be real. It doesn't. These things are nuts. These little geckos. The one he has is actually an adult male, and it's like the whole gecko could probably fit on my thumb right there.
Oh, that's cute.
Teeny tiny. Oh, they look insane. Like definitely, like give it a Google search later. These little geckos look crazy.
Yeah,
They look
like
crazy. Like little,
they
they look like little gecko demons.
yeah, the
They're nuts.
Fantasticus. Yeah, they call them the satanic leaf tail geckos because they got like little horns and shit. Like they're really dark. Some of them have kind of like these red eyes, and yeah. But generally, what they do, they mimic like leaf litter on the floor, and then you got other Europlatus that mimic like moss on or that's growing on like on the trees and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So they got incredible camouflage. And they use it, so they don't have to worry about threats, especially during the daytime when they're sleeping.
Is that the same? That's a different species than the horned lizard that shoots the blood out of its eye, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Well, pretty much we got them out here in Arizona.
What
Those
we
little
do?
horny toads, I want to call
Hornito, that's what they're called.
them. Yeah.
Did you know that they actually have like they produce a toxin within that blood when they spray it out of their eye, and it's because of the ants that they eat in the wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard
Like
that.
their blood is toxic. That's nuts.
That's why I don't get
so
them
we
because I'm not trying to feed ants. I found some when
yeah.
when we went to not Prescott. We went up north, me and my kids, and my youngest actually found one while we're hiking a trail. Little thing was like this big. Picked him up. He's like,
Tiny. They're teeny tiny.
yeah, Dad, can we have it? I was like, no, because I'm not gonna have ants in my house. Sorry, that ain't happening.
Nope. Answered termite. See, there was this one time I found something even wilder, and before I found this thing, I had no idea they existed. You ever heard of a blind snake?
Yes.
They're like this. Yeah, they're this big. This particular one was a Bimini blind snake, and they're an invasive species here in Phoenix. And they came in through the plant trade. They came in flower pots and stuff. And now they'll live under people's like lawns and under the foundation of houses because that's where it stays humid enough for them to survive. And there's usually termites in people's houses. So that's why they survive here in Phoenix.
Right, because they're just eating the termites.
Pretty nuts. Yep, I found one on a job site once, and I had no idea these things existed. And if someone was going to describe a snake that was the size of like, an earthworm, even smaller, right? And it only ate insects, I'd be like, there's no way. There's no sure as shit. Find one. They're a real thing. See, that's why I'm so into these cryptids, man, because you never know what's out there. And every day we find something that's like,
yeah,
the ocean alone. We find stuff in the ocean all the time that's like, what? That's a
yeah.
thing?
There's always a line like when I'm looking at them because they're the ones that like could be real because you're saying we find a lot in the ocean, we find lost species all the times, or ones we thought we were extinct. So those are real.
Coelacanths
Yeah,
and stuff
but
like
then you
that.
have
Yeah.
ones that are just completely out of pocket, and there's no like Mothman is an easy one to pick on. I know the community loves Mothman, and they're like, oh no, he was real. But because I also have a classical training from school and stuff, so I have to look at evidence versus reports, how reliable, stuff like that. So when you balance everything out, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of people who might have hyped up a story, or there's a giant flying bat somewhere that no one has seen since. Lean towards is not there. But you talk about other ones like, okay, there's this laughing hyena somewhere that nobody says exists, but we keep getting reports of a hyena being in the area. There's probably a hyena in the area. You have to balance that kind of stuff, figure out, okay, is this truth or is this folklore or is it something in the middle?
Yeah, you gotta really look through the weeds, honestly. And that's one of the other reasons I like it, because it makes you think. Like one of the rabbit holes I went down was Nessie not too long
Oh
ago.
yeah.
And if you look at Loch Ness and you think about the biodiversity within the lake, it wouldn't be able to sustain a creature of that size unless it was some kind of filter feeder. Because the way Loch Ness works is it's it's basically surrounded by peat, and all that peat just leaches into Loch Ness, so it's not very nutrient rich. But there is a plankton cycle that happens within the loch. And the only way a creature of that size, like let's say it's some kind of basking shark, maybe,
Yeah.
that evolved to, tolerate the parameters within the loch, and it's just cruising up and down and feeding on the plankton within the loch. Maybe that could be a thing. That was one of the things that I thought was the most plausible. I've heard like speculative evolution. There's a guy on YouTube that does really good speculative evolution videos. His theory was that it was a frilled shark that got trapped in the loch and evolved to become a filter feeder that
Yeah.
also took
I,
advantage
I
of
think
that
I've seen
plankton
that.
cycle.
The other thing with classic ones like that and Bigfoot, there'll be people that are like, "Oh yeah, here's the original picture. Here's this part. Here's this part," and then here's later the person who took it was like, "No, I made that up." Like they just straight up admit I made that up, but then nobody believes it because now there's decades of stuff of people going, "No, it's real, it's real." I haven't dug into the original of those two things before, but it's stuff I hear about cryptids all the time. Is here's this thing now there's 20 years of lore, and then the first person goes, "No, I was lying the whole time. I was just lying."
And then
Yeah, but now everybody's so invested in it. It's like, well, it can't be a lie. So they keep finding stuff. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it's not, and it's just fun to parse through all that stuff. Like, okay, I can't remember which video. One of the more recent ones I did. A lot of the cryptids were legitimately. I felt like were just made up the entire time. Like one person saw something and just went, uh, uh, a man flew from the sky and he hit me. Where's the man? He flew away.
on a
Oh
spacecraft.
yeah, it's like
What?
okay, but now there's nothing there, so they're just like, okay, I guess that's what happened, and they report it. But then you get a bunch of those, and then years of people looking for it. It's like, okay, this is true now. Want to see a little more. I want to see a little something.
See, I always feel like there's sprinkles of truth in a lot of them. Not all of them, but I feel like there's sprinkles of truth in a lot of them. Like, look at the Mekele Mbembe in the Congo. When you go there and you speak to the people, I've listened to so many interviews of people actually who've gone to the Congo, and they sit and they talk to the locals, and they show the locals a picture of an elephant, which is what a lot of people speculate is what these people are seeing. It's an elephant in the river. They go, that's an elephant. Well, of course they know what an elephant is because they've grown up seeing elephants all their life.
Yeah.
They know what an elephant looks like. Like it's part of surviving there. You have to know what an elephant is because that thing could murder you at a whim. Elephants are not subtle. They are, especially African elephants. You piss them off, they're going to smush you. So they know what an elephant is. They can identify an elephant like that. And then they showed them a picture of a brontosaurus, a long-necked dinosaur, a sauropod. Mekele Mbembe, like without a hesitation, that's Mekele Mbembe. And the same guy, he went and he documented, tribe after tribe, that have been separated from hundreds of miles, through dense jungle and stretches of really gnarly river and even, war-torn parts. These people have been separated by all of this. And they all have the same story. It's a sauropod. They look at the picture of the elephant. That's an elephant in the water. I know what that is. I'm not stupid.
I'm not stupid.
And then they look at the picture of the sauropod. Mekele Mbembe. That's it. How does one account for something like that though? But at the same time, if what they're seeing is true, and I'm not saying what they're seeing is not true, but how would we miss a sauropod? Especially with the technology that we have, how would we miss something like that? But
No.
all of these people say they know exactly what
Yeah,
that is.
I don't know that story entirely, so I don't know if they're saying they see it or it's a story that gets passed down generation to generation because maybe there was one a while ago and they just
Yeah,
get told about it and they think, oh, they're still out there, so we're worried about them and we look for them. And that was before satellite imagery and stuff. But the flip side of that is because surveillance and things, are people looking for them actively? Probably not. So if they're just lost out in the wilderness, we won't find them. If the only way to see it
yeah.
would be via satellite, are we looking for that specifically? And how easy is it to see a long blob? Like, are you going to know, oh, that's a sauropod? Or are you just going to go, oh, that's a weird rock, and then keep looking for whatever you're looking?
Or someone would just like simply say, "Well, that's an elephant with a
Yeah, the
trunk,"
elephant with a
because
trunk
that's
sticking
usually
straight
what
off.
people will say.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's usually what people say.
yeah, so it's easy to hide and see things, and there probably is some truth. There might have been sauropods there, and it's passed down and passed down. Or what would be really cool is it's a lost species, and there's a herd of them that are just walking around somewhere, and we keep not seeing them, which would be the more fun. I also like to look at what's the more fun option. I think dinosaurs walking around somewhere would be a lot more fun than, oh, they're just misidentifying an
I
elephant.
think it would. You know what the theory I like the most about that one
What?
is? Um, Convergent evolution, where something that's not related to, whatever that was in the past that it really heavily resembles, it has just evolved to fill the same niche. Therefore, it has taken on the same body plan as, what it resembled in the past. For example, today there's crocodiles and crocodilians we have today that resemble crocodilomorphs from the past. But those things were not crocodiles that we have today. They just look really, really similar. In fact, there were some amphibians, like some salamanders, that evolved to look just like crocodiles.
That's cool.
Same body plan, same snout, everything. To hunt fish, same body plan, looked almost identical for the fact that it didn't have the tough armored scales and the osteoderms on its back like crocodiles have now. Uh, it's it's pretty nuts how many things. Oh, crabs are another good example of convergent evolution. Lots of things that we think are crabs or have named commonly as crabs are actually not crabs at all. They're a completely different species that has evolved into the same body plan as a crab because it's such a successful body plan. It's been successful for millions of years. So I think convergent evolution is probably a decent explanation for some things.
There's also the chance of a mutation causing a one-off of something. So, like
Oh yeah,
the
100%.
dinosaur we're talking, what if let's say it was well, they saw it like in the last 100 years, it wandered around and all these tribes saw it. There's a potential maybe it was a gray mutated giraffe that had a really long tail. That would be really easy to go, oh yeah, that looks like the weird giraffe thing we saw 100 years ago. And I'm gonna say that's what it was, but
That
there's
could be
always
it.
the mutation angle of something that an animal's mutated or changed a little bit, gets seen once, and then lives on in legend because, oh, we saw like a freakishly large octopus. You see one freakishly large octopus, now this lake is full of giant octopuses, and it stays there forever because one people saw
Huh.
it.
There is a pretty like now that you said that, there's an animal that comes to mind. When you said giraffe, like big gray giraffe, the largest mammal to ever walk the earth was actually a species of rhino back in the Ice Age. It wasn't a mastodon, it wasn't an elephant species. It was actually a hornless species of rhino that got almost sauropod size. And I'm pretty sure that there was a species of them living in Africa and North America as well. There was also the land bridge that connected Asia and North America at the time. So who knows,
Yeah,
man?
there's dozens of
Who
things
knows?
it could have been, or it could be a now extinct species that didn't get fossilized, so we have no way to record it or know it existed. There are millions of those out there. And all it takes is legends of going, yeah, no, we saw those, and nope, just nothing there.
That's true. That's true. Like dragons. That's another good one. Um, just like a lot of like gecko species and bird species, they have like really, really brittle, hollow bones. That's what they'd speculate, right?
Yeah.
Because if a dragon's gonna be able to fly, they'd have hollow bones. Well, hollow bones, they don't usually fossilize well. So, what if there was dragons back in the day? And there is the precedence in nature for combustion via chemicals. You ever heard of the bombardier beetle?
Yeah.
So for the listeners and those would be that don't know what a bombardier beetle is, it is a beetle that basically has two chemicals separated within its abdomen in these reservoirs, towards the ass end. And when they're threatened, let's say like if an ant or something tries to come and eat it, or a jumping spider, it'll tuck its abdomen up underneath itself and it'll shoot these two chemicals out. And when the chemicals combine and then get exposed to oxygen, it combusts and turns into this just caustic, really hot, just nasty, acidic concoction sprayed right into whatever attacking its face. And it's, you know, the, the precedent for, chemical weapons and all that kind of stuff in nature is out there. It's all over if you think about it. Look at venom and poison. That's chemical warfare in the nature, like the natural world. That's exactly what that is. I'm just putting a human description on
When I
it.
was
Chemical
younger,
warfare. But
there
yeah,
was a Discovery Channel show, and I was too young to realize that it wasn't real. But they had a whole set with a fake dragon body, and they said, "Oh, we found a European dragon's body," and I was like, "No way!" And that was part of it, was it had the hollow
I know
bones,
exactly what one
and
you're
it was
talking.
full of
Yes,
it had
dude.
helium in it, which helped it fly,
Yep.
and it would chew rocks.
They made like a whole
Yeah, chew
backstory.
rocks to
Yep.
eat iron so
Yep.
it could breathe fire, and then they explained
Ah,
why the Asian dragons were long and skinny, and the European
mm-hmm.
dragons were big and
How it
thick,
would
and
move through the water.
yeah, and I was so
Do
young, I
you
was
remember
like,
the scene where it ate the tiger?
yeah, I was just like,
I know,
"No
dude.
way," and then I kn the internet was too new, so I couldn't, like, find it anywhere, so for years, I'm like, "No, they found dragon bodies," and I could never prove it. Then, for Christmas one year, my mom gave me a DVD of it, and I'm like, "Shut up, this is fake." 1, this is real because I thought I fever dreamed it and no one else saw it, but 2, this was fake, like, it
Oh
shattered my
shit.
world. But it was cool
Oh,
to
dude. I
theory craft and see, okay, if these we have no evidence these things existed, but if they did, how would they work? Okay, well,
hmm
and you go from there.
Did you see? So they did the dragon one, and exactly how you described. They described it from the dinosaur times, how this thing would evolve, how it would work, why it would get, the ability to breathe fire and fly, all that stuff, right? And a lot of it had to do with gas and natural minerals that it would harvest and whatnot. Um, it explained the whole natural history of how these things could and would have existed. And then they did the same thing with mermaids. Did you see that one?
I might have, but I didn't care as much about mermaids.
I don't blame you, but I didn't care as much at the time, but I watched it. It was just something that I watched during COVID because I was bored and had fuck all to do. So I watched it. Just like the dragon one, they describe how mermaids would have evolved from our ancestors, right? Erectopithecus, or the ape people, right? Those guys. Those guys. I'm not smart enough to remember all of those names, but it's the aquatic ape theory. So one of the theories is how our species evolved to walk upright was not because we were walking around out in the savannah. It's because we were waiting around in the tide pools, scavenging for food in the tide pools. That's the speculative theory. And parts of us branched off and actually did go out into the savannah. But another part of us stayed close to the shore and continued that aquatic lifestyle. And more of them started to venture deeper and deeper into the water to the point where they could see clearly underwater. They could hold their breath longer. They started to lose all their hair, right? And then, after a while, their legs started to fuse. It started to make a tail with their feet, kind of like how manatees. If you
Yeah,
look at an X-ray of a manatee, they still have hands, and then their feet kind of split. Pretty nuts when you think about it, and you start thinking about how this could work out, and you're like, all right, I guess I could see this. Just like with the dragon one, you're like, I guess I could see how this could be real. Yeah, this kind of makes sense when you look at it through this light. And as it goes further and further through the documentary, they start sending Alvins down into the trenches, and the speculation is that they're keeping a lot of what they're seeing down there secret, is because there's a civilization of mermaids down there that are intelligent, technologically sophisticated, and aggressive because they don't like humans.
I love that.
It's yeah,
It's funny.
right. I do too.
Did you see it, like, flipping back? Because if I was doing a video on mermaids, I would talk about that part, but then I'd talk about the flip side of, have you ever seen the picture of the beluga whale that's swimming on its back?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
where its tail and it looks like legs that are put together in a tail flipping backwards. And
Mhm.
the thing I saw underneath
Yeah,
that,
they,
like,
they have that weird.
yeah, imagine if you're a sailor in the 1800s and you've been out at sea for years and you see something that looks slightly feminine in the water. What are you going to tell your buddies? I saw a mermaid. There's a woman in the water, and then it spreads like that. Off of that,
Uh,
that's a perfect example of, someone saw one thing. There was a creature in the water that looked like a female bottom half. So he said, I saw this, and then it just spreads like wildfire. And now we have, no, there are mermaids. Yeah, they're there, bro. They're there, bro.
Dude, it's nuts how stuff like that can spread. It's and it's almost always word of mouth. Like, I know a guy who has a cousin who has a friend who knew a guy who seen Bigfoot. Like, it's almost always stuff like that
Yeah, it's
too.
3 sources away.
And yeah, dude, that's always a nuts one. Jason, you got any subjects you want to touch on,
oh
man?
no,
Because I
I was
could I
gonna
could keep
ask,
going on about this shit
no, I
forever,
was
dude.
gonna ask, like, so how do you, for for your channel, how do you decide on what to actually turn into a video, like for
So
subjects and stuff?
That's a good
when
Like,
I'm doing research, usually, like, we'll do a cryptid video. I find a list of cryptids that people say exist in this area, and then
mhm.
I'll go through that list and I'll see what I can find about each one, because there are some, it's like a one-word sentence and they don't get put in the cut. There was one that I was super excited because it was like this giant shadow monster thing, and I could find a grand total of 2 sentences about it on the entire internet. That was it. It's just in the woods of, I don't think it was Montana. It might have been Montana. In the woods of Montana, there's a giant shadow creature, and it eats children that wander into the forest. I'm like, oh, that's sick. And then I go looking for it. There's nothing. Like, okay, well, that's useless. So it gets thrown out. But then if I find one that's like, oh, there was the radio jetpack man of, I forgot which city it was. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Then I find 2 newspaper reports on it. I'm like, okay, this is something worth talking about. Let's talk about this, because now I have something more substantive. I don't like having
yeah.
my friend's aunt's cousin's sister's nephew
Hmm.
saw this in the wood. I don't care about your aunt's cousin, sister, nephew. I want 1, maybe 2. Hello, doggy. I want 1, maybe 2 sources away from whatever it is before I want to put it in a video, because I want there to be something. I'm sure a lot of these aren't real, just statistically, but for the ones that have, like,
Yeah.
even the smallest chance, I want there to be something substantial other than I saw it. Okay, cool. Do you have a picture? No. Do you have another witness? No. But it's real. You can go there. It's like the
Well, if we could go there, I want to see
yeah,
it.
right.
Like if there's an actual physical, like the cave. You ever heard about the cave, the ancient cave with all the crazy artifacts in it in the Grand
The
Canyon?
Egyptian
And
one.
apparently this one, yeah, and
Yeah.
you can't get
Yeah.
into it. And there's not just Egyptian artifacts. There's Buddha
Oh, I don't
statues
know there
in
were
there
Buddhists.
and
Yeah.
Hindu
There was
statues. Yeah,
Well, I
everything.
think I remember the outcome of that was it was one guy who was trying to save a newspaper, so he sold his story to a newspaper, and then he went back with a team of people, and they could never find it again. And it's like, okay, that's a really cool story, but now there's a lot of people that think, no, there's Egyptian artifacts in the Grand Canyon. We're just not looking in the right spot. It's like you went back with the guy who found it. What do you mean we're not looking in the right spot? And that's where you do the Occam's razor. Okay, was he lying for clout, or is that real? He's probably lying for clout. And that's not the fun answer, but that's the realistic answer. And that's the problem that a lot of people have is they won't want the real answer. They'll want, no, I want it to be real. Okay, then go find it.
I think a lot of us just like the story.
The story's fun. If you
know?
talk about it like it's a story, I'm fine with the story. It drives me, and this is just for anything. This isn't cryptid specific. But if someone's like, no, this is a fact. No, that is what you're saying is not a fact. That is in fact wrong. Like these are tweezers. We agree that these are tweezers. That's I hit my mic. Sorry. These are tweezers. We agree these are tweezers. But if some guy picks this up and goes, "Dude, these are scissors," and I'm like, "No,"
you're gonna be like, "No, you're fucking wrong."
Like,
dude.
no, they work just like scissors. Look,
tweezers.
pinch them. I'm like, okay, but that's not what makes scissors. That's not how that works. But people will do that with cryptids and other things. They're like, "Dude, I saw a monster." Okay, where? I can't tell you.
I can't. Oh.
Then you're a liar. I don't care. Like in my sleep paralysis video, I talk about the couple sleep paralysis demons I saw, but I was never like, I know there's a demon running around in my house. I'm like, okay, that was really weird. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to research it and figure it out. But I'm not going to go around like, no, for sure, there's a demon and it lives in my brother's room because I saw it. I know because that's where it ran to. I know what's in there. No, I don't. I don't know any. I didn't see it. Nobody else saw it. I was the only one who saw it. So clearly, I was crazy or I was hallucinating. But that's the thing is a lot of people won't parse through to find the truth. They'll just go with what I saw. And I'm not saying people's experiences are invalid. I will never say that. But there needs to be more substance for you to make bigger claims. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%, man. 100%. Like especially me having the army background. A lot of the times when you're out in the field, a lot of the decisions have to be based off facts.
Yeah.
The fact. I got to look at the facts, and I gotta make my decisions based off the facts, and that's how I try to look at a lot of this cryptid stuff. But at the same time, there's so much of me that just loves the stories behind it.
Oh yeah.
That's why I'm a Warhammer fan.
Oh,
dude.
huge.
I love the stories, dude. Like I'm not a tabletop player by any means. I my brain doesn't work that way. I'm gonna be 100% honest. That and I probably just I haven't really given it a good enough try. I'm gonna be real. I haven't really given it a good enough go. But I love the stories, dude. Like I think I'm on book 8 of the Horus Heresy, and then I finished all of the Space Wolf books about Ragnar Blackmane. What are some of the other things I'm getting into? And then I listened to Lorehammer, so
great podcast.
I'm always soaking up that stuff. Yeah, great podcast. I'm always soaking that stuff up like a sponge.
They've got a really funny guest host sometimes. I think you should watch it.
Yeah, dude, it's honestly it's a good show. Having Mark on, it was good because he even corrected some. I was relatively new at the time. I'm still super new, but I didn't know the difference between knights and titans or dreadnoughts. I thought they were all the same thing.
Yeah.
At that point, so he corrected me there. But yeah, there's another. You ever hear the other speculative theory of multiple universes, like the multiverse, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of these sci-fi authors and fiction authors are tapping in to those other realities, and that's how they're writing these super expansive universes, like the guy that wrote Game of Thrones or Star Wars, or, like all of those super expansive universes. And a lot of people think like, oh, the authors were tapping into this, this other reality, this other
Should have just seen
this other
acid or
universe.
something, yo. Like, damn. Like,
But a lot of people also don't realize there's multiple authors too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's that.
So,
Yeah, there's a lot.
this Lorehammer, is that part of like that? Is that like the all the Warhammer lore? Is that what that is? I don't. I know.
Yeah, so
at all.
Lorehammer is a podcast hosted by Mark. He goes over the lore and different stuff about Warhammer 40K, Warhammer
Okay.
40,000 for the layman. There's a lot of it's mostly the lore. Occasionally we'll talk about on tabletop. Like I'm a much bigger tabletop guy than I am a lore guy. So I help tie things into how things play on the table. But there's a lot there's something like a couple hundred books of lore, plus games, plus codexes, plus stuff. Like this franchise has been around since late 80s, if I remember, maybe early 90s. It's been around forever. So there's such a huge expansive universe and so much stuff to talk about that it's really entertaining. Like if you wanted to deep dive, and the other funny thing is a lot of it is still technically canon because they do retcon stuff, but when they do it, they're just like, well, maybe that didn't happen, and they just move on.
So people get upset. Like, so when they do like a retcon, do they get upset? Because I listen to
it's
the Metacast for Mortal Kombat, and anytime they retcon something, they just lose their shit. And
there
like,
was I laugh a lot. I am not weighing in on this controversy. So
because it is
controversial. I'm not weighing in on it though. So the latest controversy that they did that some people are arguing a retcon was there's an army that protects the emperor called the Custodes. And forever it's been the noble sons of the Imperium become Custodes, giant 12-foot tall warriors in golden armor that protect the emperor. But just recently, they've started introducing female Custodes. And again, I don't care.
Well,
I'm not weighing in on this. But there's a line from an old book that says the sons and daughters are in golden armor. So they're saying, no, it was always men and women. We just didn't make women models before. And there's precedent of that because the reason there are no, and people don't like to hear this, the reason there's no female space marines is GW said they don't sell. So they didn't make any of them. Later, when they thought things would sell, they made the Adeptus Sororitas. So back in the day when they made Custodes, nobody wanted female golden warriors, but now it's more okay. So they're like, no, they were always there. You just couldn't tell in the armor. I don't care.
Yeah.
People are losing their minds over it.
Going nuts over this. But we also got to give a little backstory real quick so people can appreciate like how badass the Custodes are in this universe. So I want you to imagine, a Navy SEAL or a Delta operator. All right. In the 40K world, your average guardsman, like let's say you're what's a really elite guard regiment off the top of your head, like the Cadian jungle guys.
I think Gaunt's Ghost is a
good
example, like their peak operator status.
So these guys, their basic, like their most basic level dude is operating on the level of a Delta operator, a Navy SEAL, like the most badass of the badass that we can produce in the real world today, right? Now these guys, they have hundreds of millions of them. That's their regular army. Okay, they're regular units. They're basic military. And then they have the Astartes. The Astartes are the Space Marines. These are genetically modified dudes that have extra lung and extra heart. Their rib cage is fused, so it's like a armor like underneath their skin, basically, protecting their organs. Then they wear this thing called the black carapace, right?
Yeah.
It's like a body glove that they put on. And this helps them actually interface with the suit. They also have ports embedded within them, I'm pretty sure, that also help them interface with the suit. Okay? And then they have armored plate over this. This is power armor. And I'm not talking like, Fallout power armor, which is this big clunky thing. No. These dudes can run like 50 miles an hour. They can move around like quicker than the human eye can see. These dudes are the most badass of the badass. They make the guardsmen that I just mentioned who are operating on Delta fucking Navy SEAL status over here look like a bunch of bitches. They can crush those dudes like that, right? More often than not, just squish their little melons with that giant gauntlet of theirs. And then you have the Custodes. The Custodes are to the Space Marines as the Space Marine is to the Guardsman. The Space Marine, the Custodes is basically the natural predator of a Space Marine. A Custodes could fuck up a Space Marine like that and just not even think of it.
It's the most elite of all the super soldiers in Warhammer. Before you start getting into dreadnoughts and stuff.
Like that. I wanted to just throw that out there for people who don't know about this stuff, because when you talk about the Custodes, you have to just appreciate, like, fuck, those dudes are, they're savages. And on top of that, they're attached to the most elite units. They have the Sisters of Silence. When you dig into the Sisters of Silence's lore, dude, whoa, those are some scary ladies.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, their whole thing, like lore-wise, I think they're cool. On the tabletop, I hate them. I don't think there should be their own army, but that's a separate issue on its own. But in the lore, they're really cool. And this whole there are women in it now is like a huge rift, people crashing out, yelling and screaming, huge fights on both sides, just absolutely insane. I don't care, but it's really funny to just be like, ooh, and a lot of people call it a retcon, and it's arguable if it even is a retcon, and that's one thing. So picture that one thing, but over something really important that they tweak a little bit, and now everybody comes completely unglued.
So it sounds like kind of like Mortal Kombat, like when the new Mortal Kombat came out, and they changed a few Lin Kuei members on there. So Cyrex Sector, always been dudes. And then this new Mortal Kombat game comes out, they're females. Everybody's like, what the fuck is going on now? Like, when did this happen? But they're just using because Liu Kang beat I forgot the last boss what her name was, but she controls time, and he broke time and changed it out and molded it the way he wanted to. So now they could just do whatever they want. So I was like, okay, all right, well, I guess this is what's happening now. It is what it is.
Well, I think
haven't picked up the control.
I think that's what a lot of these franchises, like these big things out there.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of just trying to adapt to modern culture.
Like, definitely.
Like be more inclusive. And this whole multiverse thing, a lot of them are doing it. Marvel's done it. Like all of them are doing it, so they can bring in like female version. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, dude. Hey, do what you want. Let people do their thing, as long as it's not hurting anybody. I usually don't really care. As long as you're not hurting anybody, hey, whatever, do your thing. But see, like here's my thing. Here's my thing, because this is kind of similar to the whole like heavy debate on whether or not females should be in frontline combat roles, combat arms roles. Here's my view. When I was a brand new grunt into my unit at Fort Polk, one of my first medics, one of the first people I ever met actually, was our female combat medic. She was one of the best soldiers I ever met. That woman knew how to do her job. And if you needed a couch moved, she was the type of lady that could help you move that fucking couch. She was built sturdy. All right? I do not care what your gender is, as long as you can fill the role that you're doing.
Yeah.
If you can wear the weight on your back, if you can carry the weapon, if you can wear the armor, if you can do the job, I don't care what your gender is, dude. I want you to be able to do the job. And if I get shot or my buddy gets shot, I want you to be able to drag my ass out of there in full kit. That's all I care about. If you're not physically capable of doing the job, you shouldn't be able to do the job if lives are at risk.
Yeah.
That is my only gripe. But if you can meet the physical requirement, hey, there's plenty of dudes out there that can't meet those.
I was going to say, if there's a dude who can't do it, I don't want him with me either.
Exactly. Like I said, I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your race, religion, or creed is. That was our motto within the military. We don't care what you do in your free time, as long as when it's time to do your job, you're able to do your job and we can all do it effectively. That's all I cared. That's all me and my buddies cared. Like in the barracks I lived in, there were dudes from all over the country. There were dudes in there from other parts of the world. And on Fridays, you know what we all did? We all got together, cooked out, and drank beer. Didn't matter where we were from, what we believed in. We all got together and hung out. It's a beautiful thing, frankly. It's a beautiful thing, and I wish more of the world was like that. But it is.
That is one thing shout out Funkatronic Rex, the game store I go to all the time. It's a very, very diverse crowd. And it's generally like,
Oh, I bet,
we don't
dude.
care. We're here to play games. Whatever's out there, don't
Yep.
matter. We're playing games in here right now.
See, that's what I love about hobbies, bro. And this is something that I talked about, quite a bit on the show. And in fact, Jason here, he's one of the reasons the Hobby Hangar exists. He's one of my 3 podfathers. He's one of the first guests I had on the show. When we wanted to make this podcast, we were trying to figure out what we wanted to talk about. And at first I wanted to be another reptile podcast. And I was like, there's too many reptile podcasts. We should talk about hobbies in general. Because hobbies bring people together, dude. Like you were just saying about the game store, super diverse crowd, and everybody's there for the same reason. They're there for gaming, dude. When you go to a reptile expo, like Jason and I, we're gonna be vending one next weekend. There's a super diverse crowd in there, and everybody's there for the same thing because they love reptiles. Even the grandparents that bring their kids in just to look at the reptiles because it's something relatively cheaper to do on a weekend. They're there because they want to check out the cool animals. We're all there because we love the animals. There's other hobbies that I've been exposed to because of this podcast, like falconry.
Oh, that'd be sick.
The falconry crowd, dude. I had the fucking awesome experience to interview one of the vice president of the Arizona Falconers Association.
Oh, that's cool.
That man, he's an impressive dude. He flies peregrine falcons and golden eagles. He also raises pigeons and runs dogs. The dude, that man, that someone should do a study on that man because he is like whatever he puts his mind to, he's like on point and he just goes to elite status right away. He's like the type of guy that, let's say the Space Marines were to show up to Earth right now, whatever legion you want, and they're like, all right, we want the best and brightest. He would show up and they'd probably be like, you're too old. He'd be like, watch me, bitch. And
He'd
just
be like, no, you're too old,
like,
and just hops in there.
Yeah, and then he'd end up being like the chief librarian of the company or the legion. Like that's what kind of guy this guy is, dude.
That's sick.
And there's so many people in the falconry hobby that are like that because you have to be on point. Dude.
Yeah.
You have to be on point with those animals. You fuck up once, that bird's gonna hate you. That bird's gonna trust you. And the minute you let it go, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Like the amount of dedication you have to have, it's a full-time job, dude. Like you can't have a 9 to 5 if you want to be a falconer. That has to be your 9 to 5 if you want to be a falconer, basically. Or you gotta have some other means because every day, hours, especially when they're babies, you have to spend so much time with them because you fuck up once, the bird will never trust you. It's like monitor lizards. I got 4 of them. I got one in here, and she didn't have a good start. I didn't raise this one from a baby like I did Bubba. She didn't have a good. She hates humans. I'm barely to the point where I can stick my hand in here and not get bit. Like that. That's how smart these animals are. But then you get into birds of prey, another notch up, like multiple notches up. That's how intelligent those things are.
There was a gal that I saw. She has a business. I think it's in Chicago, but she's a falconer, and she'll just go to all the big buildings that pay her, and she'll have her falcon chase them around. Because apparently that's how you keep pigeons away. Is they need a prey response to not come back to places. So it won't catch them, but it'll just chase them around. And I was like, I looked up one time. I'm like, I want to be a falconer because I'm tired of pigeons in my neighborhood. I'm like, I want to be a falconer just to deal with that. Oh,
Dude,
that's a lot of.
I would love it.
It'd be so sick.
It's a lot.
There's some
just to do it, you have to go through like a mentorship, and it takes years.
Oh yeah. I didn't think it'd be easy. I just wanted to know. But there's a red-tailed hawk that comes around every now and then, and an owl in my neighborhood. And every time they do, I'm like, oh, cool. I'm not going to see pigeons for a little bit. And then, like, I'll find pluffs of feathers on my roof. I'm like, ooh, they got one. Like, I'm all happy about it.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, so our
I was the predator species because I had the pellet gun in my backyard. So I was the predator species in my neighborhood.
Yeah, that is unlawful in Phoenix, and I do not condone doing that.
It is.
And there was a narc.
I do not condone doing it.
There's a narc in my neighborhood that's called the city on different things before, so I'm like, You can
Don't be
see
on that.
me, so I can't risk that.
They're different times back when I was a wee lad.
Yeah,
Different times than
this
my neighbors enjoyed it because they hated the pigeons too.
There was a dude in my old neighborhood. He used to raise the pigeons. Like
oh,
he's out there feeding the wild
I
pigeons
don't
and
have a
helping them
problem with
out.
it. Yeah.
It's like, why?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
different. If you do wild pigeons, that's different. But like if you raise them in a coop and you
Nope.
fly pigeons
Nope.
and they always come back, you keep them
Not
clean and they're not
not
shitting all over everybody's
what he was
cars.
doing. He was throwing bird seed out to the
Yeah,
wild pigeons, making it grow. I'm like,
oh man.
that's different.
Yeah.
That's a little
yeah.
different.
There's a difference
Oh.
between like raising carrier pigeons and feeding the wings with rats. There's a huge difference.
I agree.
Rats with wings. Haha.
100%.
I'm dyslexic, by the way, so I will say things backwards.
Oh, dude, I am too. I am too. Like if you actually listen, I listen back on a couple episodes every now and then, and I'll catch my little dyslexic moments and just laugh like everybody can tell I'm dyslexic. It's fun.
Oh man.
Oh, see, dude, like if I was to ever try to be one of the guest hosts on Mark's podcast, and sometimes I'll hear you guys slip up on doing parts of the reading that you guys have assigned. It's that when the guys do their bits of lore that they read, every guy has their one. And I'm like, he's just as dyslexic as I am. He feels my pain.
Also, sometimes the words are like 40 syllables long, and it's like, and
Oh,
like if on my notes, I always find the words that suck, and then I'll put the enunciation next to it. So I'll just go ka cow matao. I'll just have it written down right there, so I don't have to read it. But then sometimes Court will go into the script and he'll start adding lines at the bottom of it. I don't remember which one he did like four times in one episode. And by the fifth one, I'm like, I'm not reading that. Like I saw you write it.
I don't
I'm
know
not
what the fuck
reading that.
Dude,
Or
see, one of the things that I find in common with the Warhammer hobby and the reptile hobby is there's a lot of Latin in it.
Yes.
oh yeah.
Like, especially when you get into like arachnids. When you get into the arachnid hobby, everybody uses the Latin names because when you start getting into the common names with these tarantulas, there nobody's gonna know what you're talking about. Especially when you start getting international, it's always Latin. When I'm talking to people in Europe, especially about reptiles, it's
It's always like
like the Latin name, the scientific name,
yeah.
and I can never pronounce it. I have maybe three I can pronounce, and I own one of them. She's my dream animal, my Sheltopusic.
Oh, nice.
That's one of the few Latin names I'll throw out there, dude. She's another cryptid kind of critter. Like you sit there and you start describing this thing to someone, and they're like, "No way, that's a
That's not
snake. That
real.
doesn't exist."
The
It's not real. European legless lizard. They are real.
when I was in high
They have
school,
eyelids. They have.
I took a lot of Latin, so I learned how to read Latin, and I also learned how to pronounce it classically. So V's are pronounced like W's. So I'll be somewhere and
Mhm.
I'll hear someone say something, and they'll say it wrong. I'm like, it just drives
So you would do great. You would do great in the reptile
probably.
hobby, or the fucking arachnid hobby. You'd be great. Like honestly, there's gonna be a couple times where I might just like shoot you a DM real quick
Yeah.
of some crazy
I'll,
Latin name of a species I can't pronounce, and I'm gonna need you to send me a little voice
I'll do
message so I
that.
can know how to
I'll sound
pronounce
it out.
it.
It'll be like da ta. Like,
Yeah, you got a Barney style for it. You got a Barney style for it. You gotta. I can't read that Latin stuff, dude. It just blows my mind. That's pretty cool. You learned how to do it though. That's pretty neat. I bet that helps out sometimes when Mark throws something crazy into the script and you're like, wait a minute,
yeah. Well, if
I can figure this
there have been
out.
a couple episodes where I'm able to pull from, because I'm also Greek, so I like a lot of Greek mythology stuff. But I'll pull from Greek stuff,
Hell
or
yeah.
I'll pull from my knowledge of Christianity and stuff. I'm like, oh no, wait, that relates to this part and this verse in the Bible, and that's where this comes from. Because a lot of it comes from biblical or mythological stuff. So I'm able to tie all that stuff together. Like, oh, here's why they made it like that. That's so cool, and here's all these references, and it's just fun to know those things while you're going through it.
See, that's one of the reasons I enjoy your content is because like you go through the effort to finding stuff like that, and you dive into it like that.
Thank you.
Man, you do a good job, dude.
Thank
You
you.
do a really good job. I'm excited to see like your channel get bigger, man, because there are a lot of topics I think you should definitely dive into. Mostly because I'm super curious about the topics, but the reason I want you to dive into some of the topic is because of the way you do it, the way you dive into it. You do a really good job.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah, I always
I'm beating a dead
Yeah,
horse.
no, I always thanks for the glaze, but no, I want to be fair. I want to be honest. I don't want to like a big thing with me is like a lot of this, it's a buzzword now. Oh, is that the truth? I want to know what the truth of something is. I don't care what you thought it was. I don't care what you say it is. I want to see. And I'm like, do your research. No, I'm not going to do my research. I'm going to go through and use actual logic and reason, not just like, oh, I'm going to own you with facts and logic. No, what is the actual facts and logic under classic training and debate to what the real answer could be? And with fun stuff, there's not going to be a real answer. I don't know if Bigfoot's real. There's a ton of evidence that says he is, and there's a ton of evidence that says he's not. I just have fun with it. That's the point. I'm not going to argue with
Yeah.
someone either way. So I'll be like, no, I saw him. Okay. Cool. I want to tell me your story. I want to hear about
Show me a
this.
picture, dude.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. Tell me
let me
about
hear
it.
about
I'm
it.
not gonna
Hell
tell
yeah.
you you're wrong. I mean, listen. Like example, I was out hunting with a buddy one time, and I kid you not, I saw a 4 foot tall crow. That is physically impossible for a crow to be 4 feet tall. I was looking at him like that is a 4 foot tall crow, and no one is gonna believe me. And he comes around the corner and he looks at it and he goes, "Is that a freaking crow?" I'm like, "Okay, so you see it too." So we're just both staring at
I'm
this
not nuts.
giant black bird like this. What do we do with that? And then we tried to pull out our phone to take a picture and just, and it flew away and it looked like I don't know if it was maybe an eagle that was shaped funny, but it looked like a crow to us. But then we can go somewhere like there's a giant crow out in the woods. No one's going to believe us. But now I can spin it like, dude, there's a crow with red eye. It talked to me. It spoke to me. Now I've got a cryptid. There's the talking crow in the woods.
It's your spirit animal.
It's my,
That's fucking
that's not my spirit animal.
Breaking down reviews, got the hottest takes. Dropping all the scoop like a chef serve cakes. Tune in every week, you know what to do. Join the Hobby Hangout, we got room for you. Grab your headphones, kick back, relax. We got the stories, true facts to the max. From east to west, we got the whole globe wrapped. Tristan and Connor got this podcast talking about hobbies, baby, every single show. Chilling with the best, let the good vibes flow. Here, time to unwind. Let Tristan and Connor ease your mind.